What up is Marcus with Dynasty Football Dads. I want you to grade my pick here. I picked 208. We're going to be going through the entire second round of our Dynasty Dads draft, and you can kind of grade my 8th overall pick in the second round. In the 112 spot, I did pick Devin A-Chain. I know that you're going to have to do this kind of in a vacuum because I'm not going to put my roster up into the corner here or anything like that. So you're just going to have to say, hey, did you get best player available? 201, we got Josh Downs that was taken off the board. Really surprised that he went ahead of Zay Flowers here. Downs is a good wide receiver. I really like him. But the problem is he goes to Indianapolis. You already have Michael Pittman there. You have a quarterback, Anthony Richardson, that we don't really know how much passing volume you're going to have. You might have a Jalen Hurts first year or two of the offense. And honestly, Anthony Richardson is great fantasy-wise when it comes to running, but his passing and rookie quarterbacks don't produce very good, viable wide receivers. It's why Michael Pittman's one of my biggest sells actually this year. And a lot of people are on the Michael Pittman bandwagon, but I am selling most of the Indianapolis Colts offense. I think it's going to be a rough offense this year. I think that they're going to have another struggling year as they did last year. 202, Zay Flowers goes off the board. Again, if I was a really wide receiver needy team, he would have went in the first round. I was a little shocked he didn't go in the first round, but Zay Flowers is hyper talented. I mean, he is a very talented wide receiver, just small. I mean, a lot of these wide receivers are small. Josh Downs is small as well. I mean, you're talking about super light frames. I mean, Josh Downs is smaller than Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers at least has a little bit of muscle on him or has gained some pre-NFL combine. So Zay Flowers, I really like the 202 value you're getting here. 203, Zach Charbonnet, the fall from grace, the guy who has fallen, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever, a lot of spots. Zach Charbonnet could have been the easy RB3 of this class, but no, he just had to go to Seattle, which, stupid Seattle, stupid Pete Carroll. And I get it. If he gets 35% of the carries in Seattle's offense, or 35% of the touches, I should say touches, because he's probably going to be more the receiving back, he still can be valuable, but at 203, there's a couple other running backs that I like in that round a little bit more. They're almost more risky, but I like the riskiness because the reward is so much greater. Because the rewards of Zach Charbonnet is you got to hope that Kenneth Walker gets hurt. Because if Kenneth Walker doesn't get hurt, you're kind of stuck into this probably high-end RB3 category. A Jerick McKinnon to the Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, a split backfield. You're looking at, again, the clear RB2 of the team, in my opinion. Zach Charbonnet, talented, but not going to be the bell cow back with Kenneth Walker, just drafted there last year. Number 204, Rashee Rice. And again, this is a big boom play. When you get to the second round, you have to go after some of these big boom or bust players. And I like Rashee Rice for that fact. So 204 here, 205, Sam Laporta. We get into the tight ends here. I mean, he goes over a couple other tight ends that are in that same category. And Sam Laporta was somebody that I thought was going to go after he was drafted. I thought he was going to go end of second. He has moved into this middle to early second in a lot of drafts that I have seen. A lot of people are into that Sam Laporta love. Again, he's not going to be as talented as TJ Hawkinson is, so you're going to get somebody that is less talented than TJ Hawkinson in that same offense with a lesser production. You're into that 6 to 16 range, probably for tight ends. Think more Greg Dulcich. Greg Dulcich is probably more talented than Sam Laporta, in my opinion. So Sam Laporta, okay spot here, but I mean, again, it's tight end premium, so you got to start taking tight ends. 206, Hendon Hooker. I think it's a little bit of a reach here, but you got to take a quarterback. If you can get, even if he's going to have a redshirt year in Detroit at 206, Hendon Hooker's old. He's 25 years old. But you got to start taking some of these quarterbacks here as well. Again, when you have super flex, if you can hit on a quarterback, even if it's 2-3 years down the road, quarterbacks always hold so much value when it comes to super flex leagues. Number 207, Mingo. And again, this is a fine pick. Again, he should be hyper-targeted, or could be hyper-targeted, I guess. I think this is an okay pick here for Mingo. I think he's 207 here, that's not a bad spot. So 208, I'm on the board. What do I get to decide to do? So I could go tight end. There's plenty of tight ends on the board, and I guess teaser or spoiler. I mean, I took a tight end in round 3 because I had an early third round pick, and I'll just tell you, I took Luke Musgrave because I I thought that was a really good value there. Michael Mayer crossed my head here. But really, there's two running backs that I think that should have been taken 4 or 5 picks earlier, right? Even right into that Zach Charbonnet category. It is Roschon Johnson and Tyjae Spears. Roschon Johnson is this year's Dameon Pierce. Roschon Johnson is somebody that I really do like. I mean, I really like him. And I think that who else are they going to have? Khalil Herbert and him. And so you look at Houston, what they had last year is they had Rex Burkhead and they had Dameon Pierce. And I think that you're going to have Roschon Johnson at 209 where Dameon Pierce was being taken way earlier. Dameon Pierce was taken way early second, and that was being our draft early again. I could see Roschon Johnson being a 202 pick, 203 pick, right early in the second, if you're talking about August, because there's going to be a lot of talk of him going, wow, maybe he looks a lot more like Bijan than people expected. The difference between Bijan and him is not a huge difference. And I think there is a gap, pretty big gap. But because Bijan versus anybody is a pretty big gap. But I think you're going to hear it. You're going to hear the camp stuff. And whether it's right or wrong, you're going to see him move up. The pick that I picked, though, because I was battling back and forth, and I got to go with the rankings. Tyjae Spears was my pick here at 208. Tennessee Titans running back, again, a violent, aggressive running back that has some wiggle to him. I loved his tape. Tyjae Spears, if you don't have the knee concern, which Nick Chubb, Frank Gore, there's plenty of people with knee concerns. Todd Gurley had knee concerns. There's plenty of running backs. If you get 3 years out of a running back at 208, you are stealing at 208. And so, again, I only want a couple of years out of Tyjae Spears, so I'm looking at 2024, 2025, 2026, that 3-year gap. I assume Henry is going to be this year's bell cow, but, I mean, he is falling closer off the cliff. And there's always a chance that Tennessee goes into next year and they just draft a running back. But I am going to put my money at least into Tyjae Spears right now at 208. Again, it's a flyer. I'll take Tyjae Spears here. 209 goes Roschon Johnson. Again, the battle that I was having in my head. I really want to take Roschon for the risk because if you hit on Roschon, you end up having the Dameon Pierce type of hype. And honestly, it's one of those players that Roschon might be even a dump before the season starts. If you can get super late first, early second value back from Roschon before the season starts, trade him. And that tempted my mind, but I just went safe here. That's safe-ish. Number 210, Michael Mayer. Again, I think a great pick at 210. We talked about him being 110, 111 before the draft started, and he just has a fall from grace. I think more people look into the tape and go, okay, he's not as special as we want him to be. And so he just kind of ends up being there. Number 211, not 111. 211, Tank Bigsby, great backup here. I do think they're going to use him a lot like JaMychal Hasty. And so a great handcuff for a Travis Etienne that has been hurt a lot in his career. And Travis Etienne, who they said that they are not going to give him the bell cow type of ability. And that's okay, because Travis Etienne is a Chris Johnson, Jamal Charles-esque, where it doesn't take many, it just takes one to explode and have a great game. And there's been a lot of Travis Etienne where it's all of a sudden you go, man, 12 for 30? That sucks. And then the next week it's 13 for 105 because he had a 65-yard touchdown. And so you're going to have, if you are willing to play the risk of Travis Etienne, the guy that can win you weeks and lose you weeks, I think that having that handcuff takes Bigsby is very important. And so 211 here is a great pick. And then 212, Marvin Mims. Again, a great pick here at 212. You're looking at the 24th pick and you get an okay wide receiver here. So again, that is what we have for the first 24 picks. Grade my pick of Tyjae Spears at 208. You can grade my pick of Devin Achane at 112. Quick kind of rundown of my roster so you have a little bit of an idea. My quarterbacks, Dak, Deshaun, Goff, Tua. I think that's it for my running backs, JK. So I don't have a lot of depth, but JK, Saquon, and Swift. So that's why I went a little bit more running back heavy. Tight ends, TJ Hawkinson, Hayden Hurst, Irv Smith, bunch of minor tight ends. And then wide receivers, which was my weakest point a couple of years ago, but I really went and traded heavy. But Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Chris Godwin, Keenan Allen, And then I have like Rashad Bateman and a couple other younger hopefuls, I guess you could say, on there. So again, I went from a roster that was desperately needing wide receivers to I went and traded 2 firsts for Devontae Smith and got a second or 2 in return. And I went after Jalen Waddle right away after 3-4 weeks into his rookie season. Those are the moves that can really change your roster. I traded away contending pieces at that point, pieces that were very valuable, and now they're not so valuable when we look 2 years down the road. And so sometimes you got to lose the short term to win the long term, and sometimes you got to lose the long term to win the short term. It is a stock market. It is trying to figure out where your team needs to be. I always love fantasy for that. I always love Dynasty for that. It's the ultimate mind game. It's the ultimate strategic game, in my opinion. And still, you can do everything right, and then you go and run into a buzzsaw in the playoffs, or you just run into bad luck, which I was a team that was definitely not the best in the Dynasty Dads group. There is a team. Brown Bag My Head is the best team in our league. And yeah, I think he went 11-2, something like that, and or 12-2, and lost. He lost. I beat him. I think I beat him. Somebody beat him. I might have beat him. And that's just, again, you run into, whether it's injuries, and you run into a team where that has Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and Justin Herbert and Kirk Cousins, and they just fall apart one week. And they just have the worst week of the season all in 1 week, and you end up being a team that ends up losing. It just happens. So, I don't know how I got on that rant. But this is Marcus Dynasty Dads. Peace out. We'll see you in a couple days. Take care.